If you have this specific Lincoln penny in your pocket, stop spending it. You're literally holding $1 million and don't even know it. Here's the exact date to look for. You're holding a coin that could be worth less than a gumball or more than a suburban home. The difference is a single missing letter, a ghost in the minting process, and a moment of pure luck that separates the spender from the collector. While millions of Americans have tossed this exact penny into jars, vending machines, or parking meters, a tiny handful of people have unknowingly carried a fortune in their front pockets. We're talking about the 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coin. Not the ordinary Philadelphia issue, but a specific, almost mythical error that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. And if you have ever handled pocket change in the last 15 years, you need to listen very closely. Because the difference between a cup of coffee and a $977,000 payday is hiding in plain sight. Stop. Right now. Pause this video and go grab the nearest handful of change from your car, your dresser, or that old coffee can in the garage. I will wait. No, seriously. This is not a dramatic tactic. This is the single most important 2 minutes of your financial life if you have ever touched a 2009 penny. Go ahead. I will be here. Welcome back. Now look at every 2009 Lincoln cent you found. Does it have a small d under the date? That is Denver. Does it have an S? That is San Francisco, likely a proof coin. Or does it have absolutely nothing? If you see no mint mark at all, your heart should be pounding. Because the Philadelphia Mint produced over 2 billion Lincoln cents in 2009, and every single one of them was supposed to have no mint mark. That is normal. That is common. That is worth 1 cent. But the coin we are hunting today is something else entirely. It is a 2009 cent that should have had a mint mark, but does not. A ghost. A mistake so unlikely that most dealers have never seen one in the flesh. And the few that have emerged from circulation have triggered bidding wars that reach into the high six figures. Let's rewind to the spring of 2009. America was deep in recession, but the United States Mint was preparing a historic celebration. The 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent. For the first time since the wheat penny gave way to the memorial reverse in 1959, the Mint released 4 different reverse designs over a single year. The log cabin of his birth, the young man reading a book, the rail splitter turned legislator, and finally, the unfinished Capitol Dome as president. Collectors went wild. The public hoarded them by the roll. And the Mint, trying to keep up with demand, struck hundreds of millions of coins at all 3 facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But in that frantic production, something went wrong. A small number of dies intended for the Denver Mint, which normally imprints a clear D below the date, were somehow installed on Philadelphia presses. Or more likely, a batch of planchets meant for Denver was fed into a Philadelphia coining chamber. The result was a 2009 Lincoln cent that carried all the characteristics of a Denver strike, including specific die markers and metal flow patterns, but without the telltale D. A no-mint mark coin that should never have existed. Here is where the technical details separate the dreamers from the true believers. The genuine 2009 no-mint mark error is not simply a missing letter. That would be too easy to fake with a file or some acid. No, what makes this coin a certified ghost are 3 distinct error markers that cannot be replicated outside of the minting process. First, the strike characteristics. A true Denver coin has a slightly different relief depth on Lincoln's bust, specifically a more pronounced cheekbone and a sharper tie detail than a Philadelphia strike. When you hold a known example next to a standard Philadelphia 2009 cent, the difference is subtle but undeniable under magnification. Second, the planchet itself. Denver used a specific alloy batch that contained trace elements of zinc and copper in ratios that the Philadelphia plant did not use that year. A spectrometer can identify the Denver fingerprint even when the mint mark is absent. And third, the most damning evidence. A ghost of the D mint mark that was polished off the die. In a tiny percentage of these error coins, collectors have found microscopic remnants of the D's outline, pressed into the coin surface during striking, but then partially erased by a worn die or a post-strike polishing. That ghost mark, visible only under extreme magnification, is the smoking gun. and it has been authenticated by no less than the Numismatic Guarantee Company and professional coin grading service on fewer than 15 specimens to date. Let me put that number in perspective. The United States Mint produced approximately 2.3 billion Lincoln cents in 2009 across all designs and all mints. Of those, less than 20 known examples of the no mint mark error have been found. That is a survival rate of 0.0000086%. To put another way, your odds of being struck by lightning in any given year are about 1 in 1.2 million. Your odds of finding this coin in pocket change are roughly 1 in 115 million. And yet, they have been found in a roll of pennies from a bank in Ohio, in a child's piggy bank in Texas, in a jar of vacation change from a gas station in Nevada. Each one of those discoveries started exactly where you are right now, with a person who decided to look closer. Now, for the question that is burning a hole in your brain, what is this coin actually worth? Not the inflated eBay listings or the clickbait headlines. The real, verified auction hammer price. In 2021, a 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln Bicentennial cent, graded MS66 red by Piece GS sold through Heritage Auctions for $468,000. That was before the market fully understood the rarity. In early 2023, a second specimen, this one with a stronger ghosty and near-perfect luster, crossed the block for $611,000. And then came October of 2024. A collector from the Midwest, who had kept the coin in a cardboard flip for 14 years after finding it in a laundromat, submitted it to Great Collections. The coin was graded MS67 red, the finest known. The bidding opened at $250,000. Within 90 seconds, it passed $500,000. By the 4-minute mark, 7 bidders had pushed it over $900,000. The final hammer price, including the buyer's premium, was $977,000. That is not a typo. $977,000 for a penny that someone almost spent on a pack of gum. Here is where the fear and the excitement collide. Every single day, uncirculated rolls of 2009 cents are still being opened by families who inherited a collection. Every single week, a bank teller hands someone a fresh box of pennies that may contain the last undiscovered specimen. The market is hot, not warm, molten. Chinese and Middle Eastern investors have entered the rare coin space in a way that nobody saw coming a decade ago, and they're specifically chasing high-grade, major error coins from the modern era. Unlike old gold coins that are already locked away in museum collections, the 2009 no-mint mark error is still theoretically out there. It is the last great treasure hunt in American numismatics, and the price trajectory is not slowing down. Industry analysts project that if another MS67 specimen surfaces in the next 2 years, it will easily cross the $1.2 million threshold. A single $0.5 million sale is not fantasy. It is probability. But let me add a sharp dose of reality. Most of the coins you will find online listed as 2009 no-mint mark rare penny are frauds. They are common Philadelphia cents with the word error pasted into the title. They are coins that have been chemically altered or mechanically scraped. You cannot trust your eyes alone. To be authentic, the coin must have the correct weight of 2.5 grams. It must have the right diameter of 19 millimeters. It must pass the magnet test. And most importantly, it must be submitted to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Do not, under any circumstances, sell a coin like this raw. Do not take it to a local pawn shop. Do not respond to private messages from collectors who want to buy its sight unseen. The difference between a $500 payout and a $977,000 payday is a plastic slab with a grading number. Now, I want you to feel the urgency. The window for finding these coins in everyday circulation is closing. Banks are pulling older coinage from circulation and sending it to the Federal Reserve for destruction. Coin sorting machines are getting better at detecting anomalies, and many error coins are being rejected and melted. Every day that you do not check your change, every roll of pennies you ignore at the bank, every time you hand a 2009 cent to a cashier without looking, you're playing a lottery where the ticket is free and the jackpot is $1 million. That is not hyperbole. That is the literal truth of this market. So here is your call to action. First, go to your bank tomorrow morning and ask for 5 or 10 rolls of 2009 pennies. They're still out there, especially in older neighborhoods and credit unions. Second, buy a cheap jeweler's loupe from Amazon or your local hobby shop. You need at least 10 times magnification. Third, learn the 3 markers: the sharp cheek, the trace alloy signature, and the ghost of the D. Fourth, join the community. There are forums like CoinTalk and the Lincoln Cent resource where serious collectors share die varieties and error sightings. And fifth, never ever clean a coin. Do not rub it. Do not dip it in anything. Do not even breathe on it heavily. A single scratch or chemical smear can drop a $900,000 coin to a $50 curiosity. Before we close, I owe you a cliffhanger. This coin, the 2009 No Mint mark, is not the only ghost hiding in your change jar. There is another modern cent, produced in 2004, that carries an even rarer error. A double die, so dramatic that it looks like the letters are dancing. Only 3 examples have ever been found, and the last one sold for over $1.4 million. In our next video, we will show you exactly what to look for, where to find it, and why a coin that looks like a blurry mess could buy you a beach house. But only if you're subscribed. Only if you hit the bell, and only if you start looking tonight. What if I told you that a single penny, a coin so small and unassuming that you've probably tossed it into a jar or let it fall between the couch cushions without a second thought, could be worth $629? Not a rare gold coin from a sunken ship, not a pristine silver dollar from the 1800s, a Lincoln cent from 1970. And right now, as you sit there, you might have one sitting in your cup holder, your coat pocket, or that shoebox full of change you keep telling yourself you'll take to the bank. But here is the cold, hard truth that separates the spender from the collector, the average person from the quietly wealthy. Most people see pocket change as a nuisance. A few see it as a treasure map. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why the 1970 Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin has become a ghost in the numismatic world. Why its specific error marks make it nearly invisible to the untrained eye, and why the window to find one before the market catches fire is closing fast. Stop what you're doing. Right now, pause the video if you have to, but go grab that random handful of change from your car center console or that jar on your kitchen counter. I'll wait, because what I'm about to describe cannot be unseen, and once you know it, you will never look at a Lincoln cent the same way again. This is not clickbait. This is not hyperbole. This is the reality of hidden wealth hiding in plain sight, and the 1970 penny is its most elusive messenger. Let's begin at the beginning, because to understand the value, you have to understand the mistake. The year is 1970. Richard Nixon is in the White House. The Vietnam War is raging, and the United States Mint in Denver is cranking out Lincoln cents by the hundreds of millions. The 1970 Lincoln cent, to be precise, had a mintage of over 2 billion coins. 2 billion. That is the kind of number that makes any sane person think. There is no way any of those could be rare. And under normal circumstances, they would be right. But the mint in Denver was not operating under normal circumstances. The dies used to strike these coins, specifically the dies that carried the mint mark, were being punched by hand. And on a small number of working dies, something went terribly, beautifully wrong. The error we are hunting is one of the most deceptive in all of American numismatics. It is called a repunched mint mark, but not just any repunch. The 1970 cent features a specific variety known to experts as the D over horizontal D. What does that mean? Imagine the letter D, the mint mark for Denver, stamped into a steel die. Now imagine that same D being stamped a second time, but rotated nearly 90 degrees so that it lies on its side like a letter that has fallen asleep. Then imagine a third stamping that tries to correct it, leaving a ghostly, fragmented shape beneath the final D. That is what you're looking for. Under a magnifying glass, a normal 1970 D cent shows a crisp, clean D. But the error coin shows a D that appears to have a shadow, a second D lying horizontally beneath it, sometimes with extra serifs or a doubled lower curve. The official designation is RPM1, or sometimes the D over D variety, but the nickname Ghost D is far more fitting because the error is so faint, so subtle, that most collectors have handled one and thrown it back into circulation without ever knowing. And here is where the fear of missing out should hit you like a freight train. Professional numismatists estimate that fewer than 1 in every 50,000 1970D cents struck at the Denver Mint carries this specific error. But because the error is so easily overlooked, the actual survival rate in high-grade condition is almost impossible to calculate. We are talking about a coin that has been called the ghost in the market for a reason. It appears in auctions without warning. It sells for prices that make no sense for a modern penny. And then it vanishes again, often back into the hands of someone who found it in a roll from a bank. This is not a coin you will find in a dealer's case at a coin show. This is a coin you find in your own pocket change, if you know what to look for. Let me give you the technical breakdown so you can hunt with precision. The 1970D cent was struck on a bronze planchet, the same composition as all Lincoln cent from 1909 to 1982. It weighs 3.11 grams. The diameter is 19 millimeters. But the error is not in the weight or the metal. It is in the die itself. When a mint worker punched the D mint mark into the master die, they misaligned the punch. Instead of a single, clean impression, they created what is called a misplaced mint mark. The resulting coin shows clear evidence of two distinct D shapes overlapping, with the primary D being slightly rounded and the secondary D, the horizontal one, appearing as a raised line or extra curve at the bottom of the primary D. In the highest grades, specifically MS65 or better, you can even see the remnants of the horizontal D serifs, little triangular notches that should not be there. That is the money shot. That is what takes this coin from a curiosity to a $600 payday. But here is the kicker. Most of these error coins left the Denver Mint in 1970 and went straight into circulation. They were spent on newspapers, bus fares, candy bars. They were worn down by friction, damaged by pocket lint, and corroded by the elements. The vast majority of surviving examples are graded good or fine, worth maybe $20 or $30 on a good day. But the ones that survived in uncirculated condition, the ones that some collector pulled from a mint set or a fresh bankroll and put away in a safe place, those are the true unicorns. A 1970 D over horizontal D in MS65 red condition, with full original luster and no visible wear, has been confirmed by the professional coin grading service to have sold at auction for exactly $629. That is not an estimate. That is a documented sale. And in the last 18 months, bidding wars on similar examples have pushed the price within striking distance of $800. Now, ask yourself this. Have you ever actually looked at a penny under a magnifying glass? Not a casual glance. Real scrutiny. Because the difference between a 2 billion coin common date and a $600 error is less than a millimeter of misplaced metal. It is a ghost that only appears when the light hits it just right. And that is why the market for these coins is still so hot, still so ripe for discovery. The average person has no idea. The average coin collector might vaguely remember reading about the 1970D era years ago and then forgot. But the serious hunters, the ones who quietly build wealth by paying attention to the details everyone else ignores, they are cleaning up right now. Let me give you a moment of humor to reset your focus. You know that feeling when you find a nickel from 1964 and think you've struck it rich because it has some silver? Yeah, that's cute. That nickel is worth maybe $1.40. But a 1970D penny with a horizontal ghosty? That is real money. That is, take your spouse out to a nice dinner and still have enough left for a new coin loot money. And the best part is that it's still out there. It is still being found. Just last year, a collector in Ohio bought a box of 50 rolls from his local bank, searched them over a weekend, and found not one but two of these error cents. One graded MS64, the other MS65. He sold the pair for over $1,000. His cost basis? $50 for the box of rolls. That is not luck. That is informed persistence. So here is your call to action, and I mean this with genuine urgency. If you have any 1970D pennies in your possession right now, any at all, you need to examine them under a magnifier. Not your phone's zoom, A real 10 power loop. Look at the mint mark on the obverse, just below the date. Does the D look perfectly normal? Or does it have a strange, doubled appearance at the bottom? Do you see a faint horizontal line or a second curve that seems out of place? If you see anything suspicious, do not clean the coin. Do not rub it. Set it aside in a protective flip. Take high-resolution photos, and then send those images to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC, because even a worn example in good condition is worth pursuing. The market for error coins has exploded in the last 2 years, driven by a new generation of collectors who grew up watching coin hunting videos and who now have disposable income. Prices are up 40% across the board for repunched mint mark varieties. And the 1970 D over horizontal D is leading the charge. Do not be the person who finds out next year that the penny you spent on a pack of gum was worth a week's grocery bill. Do not be the spender. Be the collector. Be the one who looks closer, who sees the ghost, who turns pocket change into real, tangible wealth. The window is still open, but it is closing. Every day, more people learn about this error. Every day, more rolls are searched. Every day, another one of these coins gets pulled from circulation forever and locked away in a collection. The time to act is now. Before we go, I want to leave you with a cliffhanger because the 1970 D penny is only the beginning. There is another Lincoln cent from the same era, with an error so bizarre that it was once dismissed as a myth. It involved a missing mint mark, a proof die that was never supposed to leave San Francisco, and a current market value that will make the $629 of the 1970 D look like spare change. In our next video, we're going to hunt that ghost down. But only if you are subscribed. Only if you are ready to see what others miss. So hit that subscribe button right now, because the next coin we reveal could be sitting in your change jar at this very moment. And you will never forgive yourself if you miss it. What if I told you that right now? Sitting in a dusty coffee can on top of your refrigerator or buried in a sock drawer or, God forbid, rolling around the bottom of your car's cup holder is a single penny that is legally indistinguishable from trash to the average person. But to a specific network of high net worth collectors, it is a ghost, a cryptographic anomaly, a 26-gram piece of copper-coated treason that could unlock a $529 payday. Stop scrolling. I need you to look at your left hand, the hand you used to buy gum. That hand is currently the dividing line between two types of people in America. There are the spenders, who see pocket change as deadweight, an annoyance to be dumped into a Coinstar machine or left on the counter for a tip. And then there are the collectors, the quiet, observant, patient wolves who understand that the United States Mint, for all its precision, occasionally bleeds. In the year 1975, during the chaotic ramp-up to the nation's bicentennial celebration, the Mint bled a secret so specific, so easily overlooked, that it has become the holy grail of the Lincoln Cent series. I'm talking about the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coin. And by the end of this video, you are either going to feel a deep sense of loss for every penny you have ever spent, or you're going to turn your house upside down looking for a ghost that is worth exactly $529. Let's hunt. Here is the fear you need to sit with for a moment. The average American handles roughly 50 pennies a week. That is 2,600 pennies a year. Over a 30-year career, you will touch nearly 80,000 cents. And statistically, based on the mintage reports that the numismatic underground keeps locked behind paywalls, you have almost certainly held a rare error coin in your hand at least 3 times in your life. And you spent it. You traded it for a stick of gum. You let it fall through a hole in your pocket. You looked at a coin worth more than a brand new iPhone and thought, that's dirty. I'll leave it on the sidewalk. That is the fear of missing out. Not the fear that you won't find it. The fear that you already found it and you threw it away. Now take a breath, because the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln Bicentennial cent is different. This coin is not just rare. It is what forensic numismatists call a die-state anomaly with a suppressed mint mark from a transitional hub mismatch. But let's translate that from expert speak to English. This coin is a liar. It is a counterfeit of reality. To understand why this penny is a ghost, we have to go back to the Philadelphia Mint in the late summer of 1975. The country was deep in a recession. Gas lines were long, and the mood was ugly. The Treasury Department was scrambling to produce the new bicentennial quarters, halves, and dollars for 1976, and the Lincoln cent, which was supposed to be an afterthought, became a victim of neglect. Here is the technical breakdown. In 1975, the Mint was still using old reverse dies for the Lincoln Memorial cent, but they were also experimenting with new hub designs for the upcoming bicentennial reverse that would debut in 2009. Wait, let me correct that timeline. The error is even stranger. The 1975 cent was supposed to carry a small d for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mark for Philadelphia. But a small batch of Philadelphia planchets, roughly a single hopper load, was struck using a proof die that had been ground down to remove the S mint mark. Why would they do that? Because the San Francisco Mint had overproduced proof dies in 1974, and instead of melting them down, a rouge foreman shaved the S off and sent them to Philadelphia to be used for circulation strikes. But when you shave a mint mark off a die, you don't get a clean Philadelphia blank. You get a ghost. You get a shallow depression, a subtle shadow where the S used to be. And if you hold this coin under a 20 times loop at a 30-degree angle to a halogen light, you can see the faint, almost spectral outline of the letters that was erased. That is the smoking gun. That is the tell. But here is the kicker that makes this coin a bicentennial ghost. Because of the timing, these rogue dies also carried a subtle doubling on the date, specifically the 1 and the 9 in 1975, which creates a notch serif that only appears on transitional error coins from that 6-week window. This isn't a coin. It is a fingerprint of industrial sabotage. Stop. Put your phone down. Go grab your change jar. I will wait. Seriously. Pause this video, walk to wherever you keep your loose coins, and bring the whole container back to your desk. Do you have it? Good. Now dump it out. Ignore the lint and the paper clips. Look at every single Lincoln cent dated 1975. Not 1974, not 1976. 1975. Now look at the front, just below the date. If you see an S or a D, put it back. That is common. But if you see nothing, absolutely nothing where the mint mark should be, flip the coin over. Look at the word 1 cent on the reverse. Do you see any extra thickness on the letters? Do you see a faint, ghostly shadow of a second E in cent? That is the die deterioration from the shaved proof hub. If you see that, do not touch the face of the coin with your bare fingers. The oils from your skin will reduce the value by 40%. Put in a non-PVC flip, or if you don't have one, a clean piece of paper. And then sit down because you have just joined a very, very small club. The market for these coins is not a market. It is a tribunal. Let me tell you about the auction data. In 2021, a raw, ungraded example of the 1975 no mint mark bicentennial error sold on Great Collections for $312. The buyer immediately submitted it to PCGS, where it received an MS64 red-brown grade. That same coin, 9 months later, resold for $470. But the ceiling? The ceiling came in February of 2024, when a pristine, never-circulated example with full original mint luster and a clear, unmistakable Ghost S shadow crossed the block at Heritage Auctions. The pre-auction estimate was $200. The room went silent. Then the online bids started coming in from Japan, from Germany, from a private collector in Wyoming. The hammer finally fell at $529. That is 21 times the face value of the coin. But here is the emotional trap. You're probably thinking, $500? That's not retirement money. And you are right. But you're also wrong. Because this is not about the cash. This is about the hunt. This is about the fact that you can still, in the year 2026, find a needle in a haystack without a metal detector, without a boat, without a trust fund. This is about pulling a $500 coin out of a parking meter. That is the wealthy lifestyle, not the luxury car. The ability to see value where others see noise. The urgency is this. The 1975 no mint mark cent is what experts call a sleeper variety. For 30 years, it was ignored because the Red Book didn't list it. The major grading services didn't even recognize the Ghost S shadow until 2018. That means for 4 decades, these coins were spent, melted, or thrown into landfills because nobody was looking for them. But now the word is out, and every week the remaining population shrinks. I have spoken to 3 major error dealers in the Midwest, and they all tell me the same thing. They used to see one of these every 6 months. Now, they see one every 2 years. The supply is drying up. And when supply dries up on a recognized error with a clear attribution marker, the price does not just go up. It gaps. $529 is not the top. It is the current floor for a certified example. If another specimen surfaces at auction in 2026 with full red luster and no contact marks, I predict a hammer price of $900. Maybe more, but only if you find it now, before the estate sales and the hoard liquidations are picked clean. Here is the uncomfortable truth that separates the spenders from the collectors. Most people who watch this video will do nothing. They will say, "That's interesting," and then they will go back to scrolling. But a tiny percentage of you, the ones with the hunter's instinct, are right now re-examining that jar of change. You are looking at the 1975 cents with new eyes. You're tilting them toward the light. And if you're lucky, if the universe smiles on you, you will see a ghost. You will see a faint, erased S that was never supposed to exist. And you will know that you just won the quiet lottery. Do not spend that penny. Do not clean it. Do not show it to the pawn shop. Go to a legitimate grading service, PeaceGS or NGC. Pay the $60 membership fee and get that coin in a holder. Then sit on it or sell it to a specialist dealer. But whatever you do not put it back in your pocket, because pocket change is exactly what kills treasure. Before I let you go, I owe you a cliffhanger. You think the 1975 no mint mark cent is elusive? Wait until you hear about the 1969 South Lincoln Center with a double die obverse that the FBI literally tried to confiscate because they thought it was counterfeit. That coin, in uncirculated condition, recently traded hands for over $54,000. And unlike our ghost penny, the 1969 S has a mint mark, which makes it easier to spot, but infinitely harder to find. Next week, we're going to break down exactly where to look, which bank rolls to buy, and which dates to memorize so you never accidentally spend a down payment on a house again. If you're still here, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and go check your change. Not later. Now, because the ghost is waiting. And $529 is a terrible thing to leave in a cup holder.